Biodiversity at sea. So the government wants to 70% of its 70% of the designated features for marine protected areas to be in favourable condition by 2042. Well, this is a bit like the biodiversity target on land. Designated features means particular species or particular habitats. Again, it's not holistic. It's not looking at ecosystems, at marine ecosystems, and there are various types of marine ecosystems. It's not looking at the health of the ecosystem in general, which is the thing that will create, that will support biodiversity. It's the same on land. If you look at the ecosystem and get that right, that's going to boost biodiversity rather than trying to boost individual species. But there's no target for the things that are causing the destruction, like overfishing or bottom trawling. They say that are going to work. This again is a food system problem. It's not a fisherman's problem. It's the food system that's driving overfishing. So they say they're going to work with industry, but that's all, it's all quite woolly as to how they're going to reach this target. Water bodies. So that's that they've got targets here on nutrient pollution to help try and clean up the water bodies. So obviously we've got this terrible problem at the moment with discharge of sewage into all our rivers and water bodies, but sewage isn't the main polluter, it's not the greatest polluter of our water system. Agriculture is the greatest polluter, and it always has been, really. There are some pollution events from agriculture, big pollution events, but largely it's just the constant pollution that's coming out of our livestock industry and chemicals that are being put on the ground to grow intensively, to grow crops intensively. It's not a sustainable way to grow food, and it's not diverse. So the government wants to reduce nitrogen, phosphorus and sediment pollution from agriculture into water by at least 40% by 2038 compared to 2018 baseline. And they want to reduce phosphorus loading from that's the sewage and the wastewater pollution by 80%, but that's not till 2037. So we've got a long way to go before they're going to do anything here. Right, so this is far too late. They're not doing enough with agriculture. There's no target for ammonia pollution from animal waste. So they're targeting chemicals, they're targeting fertilizer, which does create ammonia, but all those animals, all that livestock we're producing is creating the most ammonia, but there's no target, obviously, to reduce livestock pollution. So therefore, there's no target for animal ammonia created from animal waste. There's no target for pesticides in any of this. But at COP15, we pledged to reduce the impact of pesticides by 50% by 2030. They have got a pesticide action plan that they're going to release soon, but there's no target, legal target for it in the Environment Act. So we'll have to see whether there's going to be a legal target for it. There's no target for pollution on land. So the pollution target is at the moment just for water, and there's no strengthening on the water company regulations at the moment. There's no incentive for them to stop these terrible discharges at the moment. So on clean air, they want to reduce pollution exposure from PM 2.5, and that's air particulate pollution. And they want to reduce that by 35% by 2040 compared to 2018 levels. And there's also targets for some of the most damaging components, for example, nitrous oxide, sulfur and ammonia again. And as we've just been saying, ammonia is the biggest, a lot of people don't realise this, but ammonia is the biggest component of air pollution. And again, we're back to agriculture, because agriculture creates 87% of ammonia pollution. So, you know, it's not our towns and cities. That's a big part of it, but there's a huge amount coming from agriculture. But instead of reducing livestock, they're spending £13 million on improving how slurry is stored. But farmers can still spray slurry on the land, and that's what they do. They use it for manure, they use it for fertilizer, and it's actually worse than chemical fertilizer now. And all of I was talking about the Wye Valley, 20 million head of poultry in the Wye Valley, quite a lot of that manure and that poultry waste is being spread on the land, and it's causing devastation to the River Wye and its tributaries. DEFRA, in its environmental improvement plan, said dairy and intensive beef farms together contributed over half of the UK's ammonia emissions in 2020. So they're saying all this, they're saying everything that I've said in this presentation, you can read it in the environmental improvement plan, but they're not actually, they're only targeting for a certain amount of it. And now there's just a bit on protecting our carbon stores and our peatlands is the most important thing really that we can do to help nature protect from climate change. We've got amazing peatlands in this country. We're one of the top 10 countries in the world for peatland. We've got 3.4 billion hectares of peatland in the UK. It's our biggest carbon store. 80% of it's degraded. 87% in England is degraded, and it's now responsible for just under 5% of our greenhouse gas emissions, and that's all mainly through drainage from agriculture, overgrazing, burning the peatland for agriculture and for grouse shooting, but also pollution, ammonia air pollution is devastating peatlands as well, because peatland's very delicate, and all the bryophytes and all of the mosses, they absorb lots of water and acid rain, and they're very susceptible to damage from air pollution. England's peat action plan only really plans to restore initially 35,000 hectares by 2025, and there's another plan which is a bit vaguer about getting on for 300,000 hectares by 2050. But again, you know, now we've seen that's not very much at all. In England, that's less than 20% of our peatland. But the Office for National Statistics says that restoring all of our peatlands would deliver carbon benefits alone of nearly £110 billion, outweighing the cost by 5 to 10 times. So that's all I've got for you tonight, but I hope that was informative, and please do ask some questions.